Ready? Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out for the sunrise. I'm going to call it the Sunset Theater. Yeah, take a seat. Come on in. Quick show of hands by people, or hopefully more people come in and sit down. Who's doing development on Force platform right now? Who's doing, which teams are doing some real application development? Anybody? Boom, 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 boom. Jeff? This is for Jeff, okay. Everybody. We'll talk about tools to do that. Let's click right ahead to the forward-looking statement so you guys can read that while I talk. I'm not going to explain it. You know the drill. What was the other question I had? I'll get to it in a second. We're going to jump right in. We got 20 minutes. Let's talk about our speakers here. Teja Amenarini is with me. He's with AutoRABIT. I'm with AutoRABIT. Patrick Boyle. I do sales. I'll hang out over here after this next slide. I won't talk much. Give it right to the content guys. Get you right into what you want, the meat and potatoes. And Teja is out of our East Coast office, and he handles DevOps advisory services, and he helps stand up, big implementations. He knows the drill on, pure DevOps and how our tool maps to that. But really, he's seen what every other team has been doing, what they've been doing right, what they've been doing wrong. So he's a wealth of information. Now, Jacques here is from a client of ours, ICMA, and they're a nonprofit. It's Jacques Guyot, okay?
Yep.
Super. And they're going to walk you through his kind of case study. And that's where we get into the real good stuff. He's a certified application architect. He just came out for boot camp a couple days. He passed another certification. Yay, Jacques. Yeah, thank you. Let me set the stage, what we're talking about here. This is the world that Salesforce, a lot of people live in right now. Maybe you guys have built something else. How many people are kind of still using change sets? It's about half and half. Okay. This is look at the middle icon here. Source of truth. This is kind of the world that we were given, that we started with. It's the source of truth is the Salesforce org. Okay, that's org-based development. Okay. If you go to any other sessions, they're going to talk to you about source-based development. That's what we're going to talk to you about. Okay. But out of here, what do you have? The tools you have available to you are change sets. The coordination between developers is manual. Okay, what does that usually mean? It means two guys sitting in a cube or across the office. Hey, I'm doing this. Yeah, okay, I won't touch that. Okay, it's very manual. Or you write it down. Okay, you make a manual change log. The end result is, the overwritten code, right? Too much manual effort, of course. How many people have an actual change management documentation that they have created for their teams? How many of them are over 50 pages? Seriously, is yours less than 50 pages or over? How long is yours? Less than 50. I saw one the other day that's 85 pages long, and they recreate that for every release, and they keep going. That's, they're very organized, but it's super manual, right? Too much manual effort, obviously. And the key that, the other people care about is it's a loss of ROI. I mean, we could be doing other things with our time if we weren't babysitting the manual change management and release management and development process. So with that, I will click to the next slide, turn it over to the guys that are going to show us a different version of that.
All right. Thanks, Patrick, for the context. So what is typically, let's have an ideology of what exactly is DevOps. DevOps is not a process per se, it's a practice, something that a team of people or a group of people that follows to make sure they interface between all of your teams, your development, your QA, your support, your maintenance teams, your infrastructure teams. They are the people who support everyone. Okay, so The primary role of this DevOps team or this organization that is set up in the company is to govern the policies around the environments, how the changes have to happen, what kind of toolings we have to use, how should the development practice run, we should do it in this way, or what kind of development practice should be used, how the developers have to make sure their code are in compliant forms, what are the different things. So that is their primary role and responsibility. Their roles span from end to end. They start all the way when you're designing your application, all the way to moving your code to production and making sure there is an cycle back in terms of what exactly does the business want. Is it given or not? Those things are also seen. So the end goal of DevOps team is that the code that is built today in the morning in a test sandbox or an development environment should be able to go live by the end of the day. That is the goal that every client in the Salesforce ecosystem should look forward, or that is the goal of your DevOps team. Now, kicking this to the next, why should any company adopt DevOps? Why should they actually think about DevOps or invest around time and energy around DevOps? Now, Jack, one of the things that we have seen at ICMARC is when we are talking about why DevOps, the first and foremost reason was better visibility across the teams and a shared knowledge in all the developers. Jack, help me understand what was the problem statement and how did this DevOps thing help you in getting this better visibility?
Right, so I can tell you a quick story. You know, we have a Scrum team. At the time, we only had one Scrum team. Everyone sort of specialized in their own pieces. And one day, something broke. And one guy had a day off. He was throwing a birthday party for his kid. And I had to call him up, and I had to be like, I really need you to go onto the org and check out what's going on. I'm looking at all these logs. Doesn't make sense why we're getting an error. And he's like, I'm having a birthday party. I was like, I know, but I got hundreds of users down, and we need to look into what's going on. So he did that. He went in. I bought his kid a teddy bear because I felt bad, but essentially we realized that we need to have knowledge spread across the team. You know, we can't have just the architect and the developer knowing what's going on. We need knowledge across the whole, not only just the developers and the admins, but even the product owners. They need to understand how the product works. So when we do run into issue, they know how to communicate what's going on. Because, I don't know, sometimes you all have seen workflow errors. Sometimes you have no idea why it's there. Like, you have to figure out what the user was doing, who was doing it, to figure out why it failed. So getting that knowledge across everybody to help support, that's the whole part of DevOps, is everyone is part of the support process. So it's not just relying on developers or the admins, it's the whole team can help contribute to help fix issues and help also with the development and definition process.
Sure. The second thing that we started looking is what are the different, why do we need process automations? How can we improve our process? And how can we automate everything so that we can get a better ROI out of the business or out of Salesforce.com? The business wants things much more faster. Salesforce is a platform where we can do things much more better effectively. I want to create a field, it takes 10 seconds for me to create a field. That should not be a showstopper for business. They should not be in a situation where they have to wait for 10 days to get that field all the way till production because I don't have enough testing efforts. I did not test it rightly. It should not be in that way. So giving the better ROI is why you need to start looking at DevOps. And the other thing is better governance and control over each and every of your environment. How many of you think that all of your environments are in sync? How many of you feel how many of you feel that your environments are out of sync all the time and you have to maintain resyncing the environments every day? See, that is one of the primary reasons why you should start thinking of having a DevOps-based delivery and having a repository system as your source of truth over your Salesforce environment as a source of truth. Now, going forward, one of the first things that we tried talking in the DevOps process is, it's just not your development, it's just not your development tools. It's the whole your whole SDLC life cycle, starting from the requirement stage all the way you go till your production. You need to fix the underlying process statement, the underlying way to do it. So Jack, help us understand how the safe frame mechanism helped you. You were using Agile previously. It was not that Agile is a new terminology. How did the safe framework help you to achieve better things, or how the requirements became cleaner for you?
So SAFE is essentially Scrum, but it's scaled. So what we do is, instead of having multiple teams with their own backlogs, like we were originally doing, we have a portfolio management. And so every issue, no matter how small of a request, I need a new field added to my opportunities. Everything goes into a program backlog. And the program backlog is managed by the product manager. He works with the business owners to figure out, to prioritize everything. And we build a product increment, which is about, it's 1 quarter, 3 months. When we do our PI planning, we take everything that's in the backlog and we build out our roadmap. Now, obviously, when there's issues like I have a small little fix, we build at about 10% gap in our velocity for our sprint planning, so those small requests can come right in, they can be done and addressed with our releases.
Sure. How did this help you in your portfolio management? How does the SAFE framework help you overall in your portfolio management? It's not one app that the organization have. You have tens of apps. How did it help you in maintaining your portfolio management? How did the product owners embrace this SAFE mechanism?
So so we defined 2 teams. So we're able to split the work among the teams. But the ability of scale, it's scalable. So if we get a new project coming on, we could easily bring a team on, put them into the process, and they manage part of the backlog. So everyone is fully knowledgeable about what's going into the roadmap. We can easily modify the roadmap within reason to scale up teams to get new business units, for instance. Like if we want to add on a new business unit, we can bring on another team, take all the portfolio level stuff, break them out into features and user stories, and push that out to the team. But everyone's still working in the same channel. So everyone's, have on the environment, so everything comes together, which we'll get to later.
Sure. So this is all about how the product owner, the business owners have helped us in the process. How did they change their method of giving their requirements, how they start adopting SAFE framework. But how actually can you achieve DevOps? 3 things. It's people, process, technology. That means when you are trying to have a continuous integration and delivery mechanism, it's not just technology. Having the top-end tool doesn't give you the option to go in continuous integration and delivery mechanism. The people are the most important thing when you are trying to adopt a continuous integration and delivery. Jack, help us understand how did the people receive at ICMARC, or how did they take it when you went with the changes to them? What was their assumptions? Can you walk us through what was the thing?
Right. So we had everyone from all walks of life. Myself, I was a DBA. I've been to Salesforce for a while. Didn't know a whole lot of repo information, product knowledge about the repo. We had some hardcore developers who knew all about Git and all that cool stuff. And then we had people, the business admins, and we also had consultants all coming in. So everybody had different levels of knowledge. So we really needed a tool that was unifiable, where everyone could be at least at a good product base so that they could get in, we could get started and get moving to this new methodology of putting everything up into a repository and having a single source of truth. But it just wasn't about the Salesforce execution teams. It's all about the business owners, product owners, Scrum masters. Everybody had to be on the methodology that we were implementing with DevOps, where we have to plan our product increments and we have to plan our releases. So everyone has to think like a developer. One thing I kept reiterating to everybody on the teams was, you have to think like a programmer. You have to think of the model, the view, the controller, so that way you can separate your stories and we can kind of roadmap it. So I was trying to bring everyone to sort of the same equal playing field. But when it came to doing the work and checking everything in, because of the different walks of life, we wanted something that we could easily ramp up and get people to use and understand with low impact.
Sure. How did AutoRABIT help the developers making their life easy? What was the advantage you got out of AutoRABIT in this process? When the teams are trying to learn about Git, how did the AutoRABIT help you guys in this process?
So we didn't even really have to teach anyone how to really use Git. All we did was we send them their keys and say, hey, we drafted them some information. We did some training sessions. Say, this is AutoRABIT. You log in, you enter in your credentials for your Git repo, and that's it. We did all the management as far as administration, assigning everyone to a branch, getting all the CI jobs laid out. So they just go into their sandbox. They do their configuration, they check it in all through AutoRABIT. They don't have to know any CLI or anything like that. And then we merge the branches also through AutoRABIT. So it's very easy to use from a UI perspective.
Sure. So the next thing that we started handling after the team got habituated to Git and once the developers got empowered is process. The first and foremost thing we started doing is we started introducing test-driven development mechanism. We asked the developers to first have a proper test case before you write or you start building an application or a Apex class or a controller, whatever it is. First have a proper test script. Then we started looking at governance policies. The first and foremost thing what we did was we stopped having all the development teams and the QA teams or the business owners, everyone, we started taking away their admin accesses because the minute everyone has an admin access, it's a habit. It's a mindset change. It's a culture change that needs to be adopted. So we have taken away the access. Now everybody is made mandated to make the changes in the development and go through a proper pipeline only, which has helped them over a period of time. Now, the next thing that we tried to do is we started moving away from a quarterly release schedules and we started coming to monthly release schedules. There has to be some value to the business. The business must have to see the development of the code much more faster. That's the core concept of Agile or DevOps or continuous integration and delivery. Then we started defining quality gates everywhere. So when I say quality gates, previously every time we have how many of you do your security scans right before the release or just a couple of weeks before the release? Most of us do our security scans just 1 or 2 weeks before the release. So what we did was when the code is moving out of the development system only, we enforce the policies. We started creating automation in such a way that the security scans will kick off, and before the developer is pushing the code to a QA environment only, the code is scanned, and if there are any vulnerabilities in the code, that particular commit or the particular story that he is trying to do is rejected, and that particular story goes back to development. So bringing that kind of smooth transitionings or that kind of policies has helped us in a longer period of time. Now, there are always changes. We need to change our release dates or everything. So what we did was we went to the leadership, we went to the CIOs, we went to the leadership and asked them, guys, stay with us for a couple of months. See how we are doing it. We got an buy-in from the leadership telling that the release dates are fixed and there will not be change in a particular release date, so that a proper roadmap is laid from a product management standpoint, from everyone's standpoint, and we are able to, if there is a change that needs to be done in a particular release date, the people have to go to a VP level person and get an approval. That is something that you really don't want to do on a day-to-day basis. So that's how we were able to get people to look at that particular process and stay with that particular process. So the last and foremost thing is technology. What are the different things we did in technology? We started using AutoRABIT as their continuous integration and delivery tool. We started migrating all the developers from a basic development strategy to a Git dev based, or they started using Git and they are using AWS code commit and everything. Why AWS code commit? Why not Bitbucket? It's an enterprise policy thing. The organization is moving towards AWS. The AWS code commit has been picked up. Now, we started having an agile management system, which is your Jira, version 1 and everything. Every requirement has to be there. It has to be product backlogged and everything. And we integrated with the top security checks tools like code check marks or Apex PMD. We started writing, these are the organizational policies that needs to be followed, and every time a developer is trying to push a story into the QA environment, the code checks tools run, and they make sure that all the policies of that organization are followed. Then finally, last but not least, Selenium testing has been introduced to them. A Selenium-based testing platform has been introduced to the organization, where every development team, if there are 8 development resources in a particular team, there are 2 Selenium resources who are always making sure the scripts are updated, so that the manual testing effort is lost from day one only. You need not worry about, I went all the way till pre-prod, now I need to run my regression, but this particular sprint level test scripts are not ready. So that is not the situation. So we started having the QA people also embedded into the development teams, which has given them better. Now, we spoke about how did we do, what did we do. In reality, what exactly their code pipeline really looks like, how their environmental policy or their code pipeline really looks like. If we see, Jack, help me understand, why, can you give a brief about how did this come up and what exactly is the thing?
Right, so we wanted to have fun with it, especially with starting it up. So, Top Gun, we figured let's have some fun. So we came up with all the call signs, gave every developer a sandbox with the call sign. And what that also means is that nobody really knows if someone's messing up, but also as teams come in and come off, we just refresh the sandbox, give them the branch that's already out there for them, and they just work off of that. Everything merged to Goose because there are some developers, as much as I don't like them, I didn't want to give anyone Goose, but then they move it up. So we have sys-test, and then for all of our Apex and regression test scripts, and then that moves to UAT for our user acceptance testing. You'll see up there we also have what's called slider. That was just for when we're past outside of the sprint, but we need to do some quick fixes for a release. We do that fix in slider, push it up to UAT, and then it goes into the staging branch and sits in staging when it's ready to go. We go to production, and as good as repos are and all of this new technology is, we still run into issues. So we have Jester up on the side there to fix those small issues. We also created windows for us to do some patches. So those really small issues, like I need a new permission to this field, or I need a new report, anything that we had to do through a repo, we can just pretty much go into Jester, create it really quickly, and push it up.
Okay, so this is how they did, but what exactly is the value definition from this? What did we get out of this whole process? What is the value definition? Jack, explain us the value definition that you got in the last 1 year.
Right, so we went from 4 releases last year. We're moving to 20 planned releases, so we're getting increased velocity. It means our releases are smaller. So that's, again, comes down to the whole safe and PI planning, where we have to make sure that we build our releases with features at that higher velocity. So it is a new change of thinking. But the one thing you'll see is that second is the time to deploy. This is in minutes, but about 3,876 minutes total to deploy. This includes my 4 developers spending a whole week building a change set for that quarterly release. We've reduced it to, projected with these more releases, to about 1,100 minutes. Basically, it takes about one release manager about an hour. He just builds it, deploys it, makes sure everything is good. And yep. So also because of the automation scripts, we reduce our deployment activities of 36 activities per release to 3, just running scripts and some small changes. And we're also increasing our number of stories release. We also moved code scanning to the left, so instead of doing a big code scan with every release, we're doing it iteratively as they check the code in. It's going through check marks, and we're getting a report of what needs to be patched.
All right, that's all we have. We are over and above the time. Yeah, we'll post the slides up for everyone so that it's just a very high level of what we have done. It has taken us 6 months period of time to come to a state where the development team is in a chain set based delivery all together, where the development team is just, a developer is just worried about committing his code one time and forgetting all along the life cycle. It has taken us 6 months to go to that level. It's just, it's not a smooth road. If you ask me personally, it's not a smooth road. It's going to be bumpy, but it's going to get paid off at the end of the day. So with that, I will call it off, and I'm here. If anyone has any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you.